settled in many northern and eastern areas. And that's how the weather's looking. Now back to Darren.
OK, Penny, thank you. Now at 1:30, a reminder of the main news again. An uncle of the missing Essex schoolgirl, Danielle Jones, has been found guilty of her murder. Stuart Campbell abducted 15-year-old Danielle and killed her in June last year. He's been jailed for life. Danielle's parents have appealed to Campbell to reveal where her body is. In a moment, the latest from the BBC's news teams across the United Kingdom. But that's all from the 1 o'clock news this Thursday lunchtime. Good afternoon.
And the great thing is that people go away happier than when they phoned up.
Right, do they?
They've arranged to pay their TV licence with one simple call.
They're actually happier.
Look, let's say you're a caller, OK?
OK.
Hello, TV licensing, how can I help you?
Right, yes, hello. I'd like to pay my TV licence by setting up a direct debit with one simple phone call, please.
Certainly, sir, that's not a problem.
Good, thank you. Well, goodbye.
No, wait a minute, I haven't finished yet.
Oh, right, sorry. Well, shall I ring you back? Or, hello? No, you've gone.
It can cost as little as just over £9 a month to pay your television licence by direct debit.
That's work.
Call 0800 328 2020 and make yourself happy.
Now on BBC One, BBC London News with Gillian Joseph.
Guilty, the verdict on Danielle Jones's uncle. But no rest for her family as the search for her body goes on. 8 confirmed, 8 more suspected. Another measles outbreak at a South London school. And can London match up to the Sydney Olympics? An inquiry's on to find out. Welcome to BBC London News. This lunchtime, Stuart Campbell has been jailed for life for the murder of his 15-year-old niece, Danielle Jones. After 2 months of evidence, the jury took 7 hours to convict him. Thoughts now turn to Danielle's family, who, although they now know the awful truth about her death, still have no idea where her body is. Nicola Pearson has followed the entire case and is at Chelmsford Crown Court now. Nicola, what was the atmosphere like in court?
Well, when the unanimous verdict was returned, Linda Jones gasped and clung on to her husband, Tony. Stuart Campbell, however, showed no emotion whatsoever, and the judge called him a very dangerous man.
Now, some sense of closure then for the family. Have you been able to gauge their feelings today?
Well, of course, the family are pleased with the verdict, but this is no celebration for them. They still haven't got their daughter back. They still don't know where she is. In a press conference shortly after the verdict was returned, Linda Jones told us exactly how she was feeling.
It's been extremely hard since Danielle went missing. But today is tinged with sadness because we still don't have her back. We need to find her so that we can lay her to rest and grieve properly. And I was extremely proud of Danielle, and we miss her very much.
As Danielle's parents said, the body hasn't been found. What happens now?
No, an extremely emotional time for them. You can really tell how Linda was feeling there. The police have said that they will now go and question Campbell and try to find out from him. It is in his interest now to tell them exactly where Danielle is, because as you can see there, the parents really need some closure on this. And the police say if they do receive any new information, they will, of course, go back and search for Danielle because they know they need to find her.
Nicola, thank you. It's been confirmed today that 8 children at a South London school have been diagnosed with measles. A number of other pupils at Crampton Primary School in Kennington are being tested for the disease this lunchtime. Our South London reporter Tom Edwards has more.
Christmas dinner for pupils at Crampton Primary School in Kennington. But not all the classmates are here. 8 children have just been confirmed as having measles.
A little bit of sort of damp has been on the fact that a number of our children have been unavailable or have rehearsed and now have gone down with measles. We've got about 12 children who are off there, so that's just spoiled it a little bit.
Southwark has a lower than average uptake of the controversial mumps, measles and rubella vaccine. Just 70% of children here are immunised. And at this school, now a handful of parents are keeping their children away. although most parents are being realistic.
I know that one friend of ours who didn't have their child immunised and then who did get very ill with measles said it had changed his mind about immunisation, that when he saw the state his son got into with measles and how much he suffered, he thought that, you know, really you shouldn't go through that.
The Primary Care Trust says given the low uptake of the MMR vaccine, cases of measles are to be expected locally. It's now reminding parents to get their children immunised. Tom Edwards, BBC London News, Kennington.
Detectives hunting the killers of a man burnt to death near his home in Boreham Wood are offering protection to witnesses who they believe are too frightened to speak. Wayne Trotter died after petrol was thrown at him and he was set alight. His wife is pregnant and has been undergoing intensive care to save her baby's life. 12 people rang the Crime Watch UK programme last night after an appeal for help by Mr Trotter's mother. Police say they've smashed a gang which preyed on commuters on London's tubes and trains. 19 addresses were targeted in the early morning raids. 10 youths aged between 13 and 20 are now in custody. Police say the gang members were responsible for at least 30 robberies. They were known as the Trocadero Group after the centre in Piccadilly Circus because that's where they used to gather.
From there, they tended to go on the underground, on the main line, and once they're in different groups, they would start robbing and snatch theft from different people along the route. Offences took place as far afield as Redhill and Brighton, as well as significantly in London itself.
Now, you'd think that London would be the front runner in any bid to host the 2012 Olympics, wouldn't you? Not so. MPs are to hold an inquiry into the merits of a bid from the capital. Reports will be published sometime in January, followed by a government announcement. Here's Kathy.
The capital is barely recognisable as the same city that last hosted in 1948. But if we're to do this again, the government must get behind the bid.
I accept that it's a significant ask on the government. This project is absolutely massive in terms of global scale and does have an implication for every single department of government. But I think as well as looking at the costs, it's very important to look at the benefits as well.
The head of the British Olympic Association is meeting the Culture Secretary Tessa Jow today, and this afternoon sees the first formal discussion between government ministers considering the feasibility of hosting the Games. East London is the venue they're discussing. Heavy investment will be needed to redevelop these areas, with a total likely cost of at least £2 billion. Not everyone believes that money should be spent on the Olympics when some playing areas still look like this.
We should spend the money on maybe some, if we've got the money, on some needed services in our social conditions, and B, we should spend it on trying to improve, get some playing fields back, get kids playing cricket again. So we might have a chance of beating Australia in 2012.
But pressure is mounting on the government to find the money to back the bid. If this chance isn't taken, Britain could have to wait for decades. But the Treasury's financial concerns aren't eased by Sydney's legacy. Their Olympic complex is still costing Australian taxpayers £10 million a year. Carthen Yarnasegram, BBC London News.
1,000 people in London alone are affected by head and neck cancer every year. Now, one of the capital's leading hospitals has developed a new treatment using a special combination of drugs and lasers to try to combat the disease. Julie Gatenby reports.
8 years ago, Alan White was operated on for mouth cancer. But when he developed more tumours, specialists suggested he tried an experimental treatment called photodynamic therapy. It continues to work for him in a way that surgery never could.
Well, it's something that you can blend in with your ordinary lifestyle. We go on holidays, we do everything we normally do, and any treatments fitted in with what we're normally doing. So it really hasn't affected our lifestyle at all.
Patients are injected with a drug which takes 4 days to accumulate in the cancer. This laser is then shone on the tumour, which activates the drug, killing the cancerous cells.
So we check the position on this tumour here and ready to go. Could we start the laser?
The treatment usually takes just 4 minutes and is often carried out under local anaesthetic in outpatients. And it leaves the minimum scarring, something which can be so important to patients with neck and head cancers.
If you have to open up the face to get at the cancer, either making an incision in the upper face or the lower face, then you have external scars. And quite often nerves are damaged in the area and the facial expression, all of those sort of subtle movements of the face can be lost with surgery.
Trials on patients like Alan have now been completed, and the treatment is available at University College London and Barts Hospital. Julie Gatenby, BBC London News in Euston.
Now, some news just in for you. Chelsea goalkeeper Mark Bosnich is to have talks with the club about his future after he tested positive for cocaine. That's the second positive test on samples he's given. We'll have more on that story for you at 6:30 tonight.
I've been working on a piece that's...
What up, guys? Fucking crazy sick dick Vic from MTV is too stupid. Oh, cut the shit. Straight up, what happened was, got some light tubes busted over my head.
Are you alright? That was sick! That was fucking sick, dude! Put that on the internet! That's fucking awesome, mate! Yeah! Fucking internet, mate!
Shouldn't do that sort of thing, it's bloody stupid.